yesterday. So that means we're at a hearing for the budget. So we're getting ready to open for that. We're going to ask that you stand for the invocation. Microphone. Thank you.
Let's pray. My Father, my God, Lord, I come to you today, thanking you, Lord, for this opportunity to come and do the city's business. Lord, I pray for peace and unity, God, within our city and our state and our nation. God, we need you in our lives each and every day. Father, I pray for this week today, that things be said and done, be pleasing unto you. So in Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we take our seats, according to our agenda, we are to hear the reading of the notice from our city's clerk. Mr. Clerk.
The public notice, City of Waycross, Georgia, proposed budget hearings of the city commissioners for fiscal year 2025, July 16th, 2024, 3:00 p.m. 417 Pendleton Street, City Hall, as well as July 23rd, 2024, 3 p.m., 417 Pendleton Street, City Hall. The purpose of these commission hearings is the discussion and consideration of the commission of the proposed budget. All citizens of Waycross are invited to attend. Handicapped citizens requiring assistance to attend the meeting should make their request to the city manager's office by calling 912-287-2912.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the format of conducting this public hearing will be the following manner. The city clerk will read the notice as it was read, published in the Waycross Journal Herald. Following the reading of the public notice, the appropriate department personnel will summarize a report regarding the petition. The petitioner shall have 10 minutes to present reasons for the approval of the petition. Opponents of the petition shall have 10 minutes to present reasons why the petition should not be approved. Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the petition should have registered with the city clerk prior to the commencement of this hearing. The speaker should give his or her name and address. If more than one person registers in opposition to the petition, the one who registers first shall be entitled to use the 10 minutes to present the reasons why the petition should not be approved. Following the 10-minute presentations, others will be permitted to speak. Each person so desiring to speak shall have 3 minutes to make the presentations. I will determine the order in which these presentations are made. Following the opportunity of all to have spoken, the city commission will deliberate the issue and make its decision, or decisions will be deferred to a later date. At this time, I would designate our city's clerk as the hearing's timekeeper. At this time, we will hear our budget presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To summarize the budget presentation, as you know, we did not pass the budget by the July 1st cutoff date for the new budget to take place. We did some research and with GMA and some legal channels, and we determined we did a budget continuation that ran through August, end of August, to give us time to work out any misunderstandings or clarifications or changes or adjustments to the budget, which we're doing now. Also, according to the charter, I did reach out to GMA again to see what was the next phase. They recommended that I stay in line with the charter and represent the budget in the same means that's outlined as a presentation, a public hearing, and then a vote, which is what we do now. This will be the first presentation. Much has not changed. I'll do a quick 2-minute opening. I'll pass it on to the finance director, then we'll take questions or concerns or comments or recommended changes by the commissioners, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
So at this time,
Yes.
we're going to call for your.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This time you have the quad chart as is present before you. Nothing has changed on this chart. We've discussed the inputs and outputs, my concerns of the budgets. Once the budget was not passed, I did go back and look at some things that I felt needed clarifications. I did meet with I did get feedback from some of the commissioners about recommendations and questions concerning the budget, which were answered to my knowledge at this time. I will stand by the previous statement. We do need to look at a CPI, some type of performance matrix to align with the rise in inflation and insurance costs, which we've spoken on numerous times at this stage, so that we stay competitive as a city and also that we keep our budget in a healthy financial status. Right now, I maintain this. We stand about a B- as far as financial health. That's pretty good. Meaning that we do have enough savings and equity to get past 6 months as far as cash if need be. We also will be able to maintain our bills and provide our services to the community in a timely and assertive manner. That being said, and as stated previously, we do have a few shortcomings that will need to be addressed moving forward, especially once the budget is passed. Mainly being now that we're in audit compliance, we have not ever been in audit compliance prior to a budget hearing. So our direction will be different as far as the financial statement, because in previous years, we were always still trying to figure out the audit while we're trying to work the budget. So, Mr. Mayor, before you see that card chart, like I said, nothing's changed. Hopefully, I've identified all the concerns with this, the previous discussions. And I'll pause that for questions before I pass it on to the finance director for his presentation.
Commissioner, I open the floor for your questions to our city manager. District 2, any questions?
Nothing at the moment, sir.
Okay. District 3, any questions?
Yes, Mayor, I have a question.
Commissioner?
Mr. City Manager, you mentioned a few shortcomings that were identified
Mhm.
moving forward with the new budget, and you mentioned one. What were the other two?
Well, I might was talking about the lack of having a plan in place to deal with the inflation and the rising costs. We never really addressed that. So those two shortcomings will be there still after the budget is passed. Also with the insurance premiums rising. So those two have not truly been addressed. And I am somewhat concerned what the future may arise behind those if we don't do something right now to address those two concerns. Those are the major issues that have not really had any resolvement to my knowledge. I think I addressed everything else that y'all might have had questions I did receive.
Thank you.
District 4.
I have a few questions, but I think I'll wait till Greg comes up to ask him some of the things that I had questions about.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, Greg will the finance director will present the budget. He has not changed much from his slides. You did receive a new handbook a few weeks ago that identified a few adjustments in there, small adjustments in there. And Greg, the finance director, will cover those adjustments and also kind of highlight some concerns he has as the finance director moving forward.
Okay.
Smith.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
I've got just a brief statement. Some of it, is on the slide there, but I've added some of my comments to this statement. I'm concerned about the budget as I know you are. Like we talked about, including last night, our insurance keeps going up and our workers' compensation has increased dramatically. And our cost and supplies and fuel increase, ever since the virus started. Our employees are experiencing, the same kind of personal instances with their purchases. Their paycheck does not go as far as it used to. So I believe we must continue to use our monthly financial statements to determine if financial changes need to be made throughout the year. I've sort of had it, I won't say easy, but the ARPA funds have certainly made my job a little bit easier. We had something to work with. Of course, that's going to end the end of this calendar year. It's going to end in December, and so we'll have to continue to just monitor our finances on a continuous basis. I'm proposing and it's in the budget, is to use capital leases when we purchase equipment such as police cars. And we've been doing that before, make monthly payments versus just buying them right out. But under ARPA, we were able to do some of that. Some of our purchases, we just paid cash for, which certainly had its advantages. But I'm recommending we use capital purchases, capital leases as we've done before. And before we increase our expenses any more than what we planned on, we have to justify it, financially, of course. And our employees have received, wages and benefit increases over the past years. And again, before we do any more of that, we'll have to justify that financially. We'll have to have the funds in order to do that. On a positive note, we can maintain our financial position even with the challenges we are facing. The workers' comp payment should be reduced. A lot of what we're paying is old claims, and once we pay those claims, we'll be finished with that, and we'll pay it as we go, as we're doing now. And while inflation is hurting our expenses, at the same time, inflation can help our revenue through sales tax. It's sad that when we go to the grocery store, prices have increased, but that does increase our revenue, because we collect sales tax on purchases within the city. And we also have some new businesses coming to town, and that'll also increase our revenue too. So it's not all negative. We do have some positives going on there. And as the city goes forward, we have the opportunity to keep our financial position strong as we keep our expenses in line with the growth that the city is experiencing. That's all I have as far as the statement goes. Is there any questions or any subjects you'd like me to talk about, that either that we've talked about before, or any new items?
It appears that Commissioner Hopkins has a question for you.
Okay.
How much is our balance right now in the ARPA funds?
It's let me look. And of course, we have to expend them all, by December 31st, or either have a contract to have them spent.
And you're referencing the ARPA?
Sir?
What are you referencing? You said we have to have it all spent by
December 31st.
Okay.
Or either have a contract to spend. In other words, we have to have it spent, and we're on the way to doing that. The budget, we have a budget for that, and we've got plans, laid out for all of that.
While Mr. Smith is looking, it's 1.8 million this time, Mr. Mayor. But most of that money is earmarked, one for our computer software updates and upgrades. We still have some vehicle purchases to make with the Public Works Department and some of the police department still to make. I did leave some of that for contingency funds, about $250,000. It's not earmarked, it is straight contingency, but based off of some other commitments to the grants, like the parks grants, that money will go towards those as part of the percentage as far as the parks. So all that money has been earmarked. There's nothing left from the ARPA to spend on anything else. And that's why Ms. Smith is saying we're trying to move away from that, because all there was an asset, it did create a false picture as far as financial health. And we're trying to move away from that this time, Mr. Mayor.
Understood.
And I of course agree what the city manager says, that dollar amount sounds right. And it, we have to include that in our budget. And we did. So I agree with that. Is there another follow-up question to that or anything else?
I have one. If y'all earmarked how much of that 1.8 million, all of it?
Have we earmarked all of it?
Mm-hmm.
But the city manager just told us that but there's a contingency left that we'll have to earmark before, the calendar year expires in December. 250,000.
There was a match for the 2.1 million for the parts that we had to meet, and there was some conversation how much that was going to be or if it was going to be. So I just held that to the side because we still didn't know until recently how much that would be, and that's going to be around about $250,000. So that was a precautionary measure for matching that funds for the park renovations for the 3 parks that we have getting redone. So at that point, all the money would be gone, Mr. Mayor.
So public safety, parks, and contingency.
Right, right. And
Okay.
so it'll all be within the city funds and not, we've already given out all the grant money.
Understood.
The grant money's gone.
That's
And
correct.
then, will there be any to repair some of the city hall rotten seals and the windows and things like that?
That's not in the ARPA fund allocation as of right now.
Or is there something that we can swap for that?
That's something we can look at. And me and the finance director sit down and see if we can put something in place. That might be something that needs to be contracted to get a true fix on it, or it could be a cash asset, I guess, because
Right.
it'll be a one-time thing. So that's something we do have reserves for that purpose. So we'll go back and look at how much that would cost. If you talk about just the actual city hall building, and we'll come back to the commission with that cost.
Well, it looks really bad. And the window sills and the sides are rotten. And I think we ought to do something about our building when we go out and cite people for code. Here we got code issues ourselves. So that's the reason I think that we should take some of that money and try to repair just some. I mean, we can't do everything, but at least we can try to repair those window sills and paint it maybe.
We do have, regular repairs and maintenance in the budget. We don't have any big projects such as that in there, but we could do, some items could come out of the regular budget, not the whole building, but just regular repairs to City Hall we could do.
Okay, well, that's something that really bothers me. When people come up here and we give them a ticket for their code violations and then we got code issues at our home.
Okay. Any further questions, Commissioner? Okay. You have a presentation you wanted to give to us?
I can review what I've done before, but I don't have any new material other than my statement I just
Okay,
made.
very good. Any other questions, Commissioner?
Did, Miss Mayor, Greg, do you have anything else to present to us?
No, I don't. Not what I've already presented.
I think they
my
want
state.
to ask questions of us or get us to ask them questions so they can refer to those questions, looking at the budget that has already been presented. And if there's any questions that we have not asked, then that means there's answers that we have not received. So the question is I know I heard a couple of times in the last meeting that I have a lot of questions that I need to ask. And so that's what he's here for, to answer any questions that may be needed to be asked. So what are those questions?
Okay, so now's the time for us to ask any things that we.
Right. This is your question now.
Well, I asked a while back about that leach aid fund,
Right.
and I asked where that money went to.
Yes.
And y'all said the general budget, is that correct?
No, it goes in the water and sewer.
Water and sewer.
Well,
so he
so I
said.
know it's supposed to, but I thought they said it went to somebody said it went to some of the general fund. Okay,
No.
so what did y'all do with that did y'all allocate that to something at the waste treatment plant, or what did y'all spend that on?
It goes in the water sewer fund with the other revenues such as water bills and sewer bills.
Okay,
It's in the same big group of revenue.
so all that went to waste. Well,
Yeah.
I wanted to know that I was hoping that was what you were going to say, that it went to that fund. But did it go to a specific area like lift stations or cave-ins or anything like that, sewer
No.
cave-ins? Did it go to anything specific?
No, it didn't. It went in the water and sewer fund. Of course, there's expenses related to that too. And those expenses go on the expense side of it, but we don't net them together or have a specific allocation for one versus the other. As a finance director, I just, make sure that that's a positive item where the revenue is more than the expenses.
Okay. So how is the water and sewer fund right now? What is our balance on that?
It's positive.
Let me jump in, Mr. Mayor, on that. While Greg's researching that number, because just to clarify the point I think the commissioner's trying to make. So
Yes, please.
that million goes into the water and sewer, and the water and sewer itself is in annually averaging about 7.4 to 7.6 million. I think it's 7.49 this year. That monies, as he said, only matches the revenue and expenditure, kind of zeroes out. Hence, I have to come to the commission a lot of times asking for a month more emergency funding. We have to take from other accounts to fix the roads and the lift stations, sewer lines, stuff like that. That's why I say, we probably like a B- as far as financially, because we have not done anything, put anything in as far as increasing revenue to tackle those big problems. We patching well, and that patching allows us to kind of break even, stay around that expense coming in, revenue generating expenses going out, to stay kind of, $0. But at the same time, we are kind of going backwards on maintaining the water and sewer infrastructure projects within Waycross. So that's the reason we constantly come back to you with these emergency requests. This time, we have a new program manager down there at ESD, Infomart, who's still putting together a plan for those capital gains projects, so we can figure out how much it actually costs to catch up. But it is balancing out, so it is 7.4 million. It has been increased from last year about 18%. So it does balance off. At least it is in that, and that does allow us to kind of pay our bills, fix, patch, and repair. But that's all at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Fix, patch, and repair.
And so our water and sewer balance is what?
7.4.
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
7.4. So we're not in the hole there.
No,
Okay, I thought one time at one of these meetings y'all said we're barely there, but it sounds like we're okay
Right.
there.
right. But we're not, we're not, according to the engineers, spending enough each year on repairs. I got to go to a water management class at GMA recently in Savannah, and other cities are trying to do that, and we're in a lot better shape than a lot of cities are, but everybody agreed that we need to, that every city needs to put money aside and do constantly do repairs, because we're not the only city that has pipes that are ancient.
Okay.
Now, there were some raises given and some promotions. Do we have a list of all those?
And we got some on the bottom left are some of the increases we had. We got a cost of living raise in February of 2.5%, and in the current budget we've got a proposal of 1%. But I mean, to me, that's a good list. There, the cost of living was the most expensive increase we have. 2.5 for every employee of the city. And again, that was in February.
So do we give one in February and another one? Total, what do we give them?
It's 2.5.
2.5.
Right.
And that was a total.
Well, we put in this budget a 1% as part of that, so together it would be 3.5. And that the 1% is reflected in the numbers that are in the budget book.
And did we get the city manager a raise in this budget?
I believe you got a cost of living increase.
This cost of living of the whatever this all citizens got. Is that in his contract, Mr. Huey? Do you know?
I do not know.
Um,
Not taking a look at that.
I know that we evaluate him, and after we evaluate him, we decide on his
That is
increase
correct.
or if we're going to give him an increase or whatever. So
Yes.
I didn't think that was in his contract.
That usually is in the city manager's contract.
They
that you would
usually is.
evaluate and then decide whether or not you want to make an
Right, but the
annual
cost of
adjustment.
living is not included in his, is it?
I don't know.
Would you check on that,
I will.
please? And these promotions, are they allowed? I thought they had to be before us, before we changed the title of the job or promoted something different than what it was.
I'm not sure what you're referring to, Commissioner. That's probably executive session matter. I'm not sure what you're referring to, promotions.
Okay, so let me pause you all for the moment. If there's a statement that needs to be held, basically, this meeting was about asking questions of the director so that we would find out whether or not this budget is ready for approval. If there are other questions along the sideline, these peripheral questions, those should have been asked prior to us having this meeting. And you should have made sure that any questions you had were responded to, or at least had opportunity to be addressed. I think each time we get a little notebook, that each time you ask a question, we'll get a little summary. I think there was a constant thing, I think back it says FY 2025 budget proposal executive summary, and it lists all the questions that we asked. We addressed the fire truck purchase, police car purchase, a public works equipment purchase, personnel structure realignment, and then workforce quality life initiative. The same stuff that he's showing on the screen, we have copies of. And along with that, there are some attachments that have been made, which show if there is anyone that has been promoted, their names may not be on the process, which of course, that's not something we bring up. But we do talk about when we approve any position. So if there was a position approved, it's approved. I'm looking at a couple of things here, one of which was on February the 6th at 5 p.m. And it says the Waycross City Commission meeting was called to order at 5 p.m. In the chamber were present Commissioners Katrina Felder, Norman Davis, Shanita Bennett, and Mayor Pro Tem Alvin Nelson. A name was brought up and there was a first approval, because you had to have two of them, approval of a position. And according to the statement that was made, all those persons who were present, the commissioner who made the motion was Commissioner Felder. It was seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Alvin Nelson and voted on all in favor. There were no votes in opposition to any position. So when I'm looking at this and we have these copies, those questions should have been asked before we got here today.
Well, I wasn't here.
I understand you were not here. And what I'm saying here is that if there are any questions of that sort, he's also giving you a copy of this very same thing. So you have the right to read over it and question it. But at the same time, your commission, who was present, made a decision to give whatever promotions that were made. Nothing was done by the city manager without the commission and mayor approving it. So what I'm hearing now is we're going back over the same things. We went back about the leachate. We had that conversation before. The same statement was made that it was about water and sewer. This time we're having the same conversations. So my question is, if there are no questions regarding this budget, what is our holdup?
Well, my question was, I asked him about leachate and he told me he wanted to do away with it at one point.
He suggested to us that we consider another route to take, because understanding that leachate, according to what we learned at GMA most recently, is that there's a great possibility that something like PFAS or those kinds of things can leak into the earth, causing EPD and EPA to actually cite us. So he was saying, think about another way of getting funding in. He did not say don't do it or that he would get rid of it, because we would be the ones that make that decision. He just said he wanted us to be aware that these are some possibilities that we might need to look at trying to do something a little bit differently. But once you said, Commissioner Hopkins, that we don't need to do that, he said, well, I'll back away from that. And we've had this conversation at least 5 times every time we meet here.
Yeah, but I was never explained what GMA said. So I didn't know why we were backing away.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't have a clue
Mhm.
about what you just spoke.
Yes.
So I am a representative for my district. And
Understood.
I want to understand these questions if I'm answering them. And when I was sick, I didn't get all these answers. So that's the reason I went through the budget and looked to see. So I only had a one-on-one conversation with him about that one time. And he said, and then I didn't ever come back, or nobody never came back to me and told me that it was going to be for a specific reason that GMA suggested that.
Okay.
So
And
when
this
I'm
was in our
when
last
I'm
meeting
confused
just
about
recently.
this, when I was confused about anything like this, and I had marked it, I think that I should have my ability to ask and clarify it
You
before I
should.
vote up or down.
You should. And I agree with you. You should have that right. And that's why he opened the doorway for each of you to have opportunities to do ride-alongs. He calls you, asks you questions. He invites you into his office. He does all of those things. And so if there's something we're not hearing, it's because we're not asking the questions. And when he asks us to ask him questions, we need to take advantage of those moments. It's quite interesting to me that we have come back multiple times with the same questions. It's not like we have a new question. It's the same stuff being asked again. And I understand you want to get clarity for those who are the constituents in District 4. But at the same time, they can watch us. They're seeing everything we're doing. There's nothing we're doing behind the scenes. There's no backhanded stuff, no backdooring, nobody doing anything other than having conversations. Questions are being asked and answers are being given. The question is, do we want to hear the answer, or are we trying to play gotcha? Because if we keep doing this over and over again, that's all it seems to be. We're going back over the same stuff. Now, we, the commission, as a body, have the right to make the decision to vote up or down on this budget. You can make a motion, but I know we have to have 3 of these meetings now because we start this whole routine back over again. When that time comes, you can make a motion and a second. Have any discussion, any questions you want to have asked. And after that, you can vote up or down depending on how you feel. And we can continue in what we are right now. We're walking in our fiscal year 24 budget monies. And I believe that started all over again as of the day we made the vote on that 8 o'clock morning worship. 8 o'clock Saturday service. I'm in my mind now. So what we're trying to do is make sure that once that flip back over, no monies at this particular point are different from any monies that we started out with. We're still 38 million that we're working from.
Right.
Okay. And that means that it started over July 1.
We did.
Okay. And that means at the July 1, if there was a deficit in any one of the commissioner's budget or the mayor's budget or any other situation, it starts fresh over, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So that means what we're trying to do here today is make sure that either we're going to give these costs that we said we voted on. Of course, I still have the white notebook, and each one of you commissioners has this same white notebook. So in this notebook, you have inside of it what we approved. We already approved these things. Now the question is, do we have the funding to do that? If we said a fire truck, if we said a police car, public works equipment, all these things, there needs to be money allocated to make sure those things are handled. And I don't know if the 38 million budget will be able to qualify to do those things. I think that was one of the reasons why you had an increase. And the same thing with the inflationary statement. I think someone said that we were really pushing it a little bit, but I said, I don't see how we're pushing it when I see personally my own income and the funding that is necessary to take care of the billing that's coming in now that didn't cost as much, even down to painting. So I'm saying, if we're talking about doing something to this building, at the same time, you got staff that's working every day that need to be paid. Our concern right now should be that our staff feels confident and comfortable, that we are competent enough to make sure that they are well taken care of. So when they leave this job, they don't have to look out for another job somewhere to get a second, a third, or a fourth job, which of course I'm sure they're not doing that, to take care of their needs. So the question I'm asking, Commission, is are we going to make a decision? Do we have any real questions that we need to ask? And if so, let's form those questions, shoot them over to our city manager and our budget director so that they can give us some responsible actions, or because it sounds like, okay, so how much do we have in the balance? We have the paperwork sitting in front of us. We have the budget right here in front of us. So the question I'm asking now is, is there something specific, Commission, that we need to ask Mr. Smith or Mr. Rayford? If not, then we need to move forward. Any questions? You have a question, Commissioner Feldman?
I have a comment. Just a
Comment, please.
I appreciate your detailed explanation regarding the budget. I appreciate what the city manager provided us with the update regarding the physical health of the city and the budget. I did submit several questions to the city manager prior to this meeting, and he did respond thoroughly, and I appreciate that. Moving forward, I think that to avoid this, the next time that we have to discuss the budget, our finance director mentioned that the use of our monthly financial statements to determine what changes are made throughout the year regarding the budget. I think that it would be better for us as a commission to receive those financial statements on a monthly basis so that we can review them as they occur, so that if we have questions as the budget changes along throughout the year, those can be addressed so that when we come to the point of reviewing the budget at the end of a fiscal year, moving forward to a new fiscal year, all of our questions have been addressed. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Bennett?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Hopkins?
Well, could Greg just explain what he's talking about? How much would you go up and what would be the millage rate?
How much I would need to go up on the revenue?
Yeah,
The budget is increased, 4 million. But what's misleading about that is that does not mean we need to increase our revenue by 4 million. And ballpark numbers, half of that is money we've already accumulated through sales tax. We collect sales tax, but we don't spend it time we get it. It accumulates, and at some accounts we get some interest income, but we have these savings accounts. We are required to put sales tax funds in have a separate fund on the books and also in the bank. And so a lot of this increase is not mean we have to generate that much revenue. So I think that's a factor too. Forgive me, what was the other part of the question?
well,
Millage.
Oh,
Still
we
what was
got-
Oh, the millage rate?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Usually
That
it's
will
done
be
by
presented.
Roger Collins.
Yeah,
usually
Roger
does that.
Collins will present that to us. And, Roger and I always go to Roger before I do a budget, and he gives me some useful information. And, there will be some increases in revenue, with these new businesses coming in. And of course, sales tax does not involve Roger, but, I see our sales tax keeps increasing. This latest sales tax fund that was created by the voters, we're receiving more money than budgeted, so that's a positive thing too. But going back to the millage rate, Roger and I did not consider changing the millage rate in order to increase our taxes for the citizens. We have to. It's called a rollback, where the tax assessor's office may show increases in property values, but then the county and the city and historically have rolled it back, where the property taxes for individual residents, does not go up.
And so we had a briefing recently where they mentioned that's probably going to change this year. And they wanted some support. We elected not to support that joint letter with the county and the tax commissioner's office. So that's a factor we are waiting on to see how much they actually achieve. I want to answer two more questions, Mr. Mayor, if I can.
Yes.
As I stated earlier, we have never had the audit turn in time to have correct financial statements. As I mentioned earlier, now that this is the first time we've had the audit completed within the month it was required. So now, thanks to Greg's great team, we can do the proper thing with the budget. But the previous years, that had not been done. We were always in the hole for months trying to figure the audit out. So we didn't know how much we had or what we spent and those other regulatory guidance. So that's a great thing, which I've said about numerous times for the team doing that. So that will help us moving forward. But we did not have that ability before. Where I'm saying that we need to increase the budget, not necessarily revenue, but as I mentioned before about our infrastructure projects, we don't have the money to get that going. So that's the part I'm talking about, raising, increasing certain fines, fees, and services and taxes to kind of get that going, because we are going backwards with that. The same thing with wage inflation, which I kind of mentioned yesterday at the briefing, not keeping a quality workforce because we can't keep up with some of the salaries, i.e. the firemen and some of public works. What we have learned is this time of the year now, after the public works, most of those employees have been in the sun for the months of May and June. They typically quit. And, and we start over again for the real summer months being July and August. And that's why I'm trying to find extra revenue for them and get credit for them as far as their services so we can maintain areas throughout the most visible part of the summer when everybody's here. So those are the things I'm talking about as far as inflation and needing to do something to adjust that and infrastructure. And like I said, as Greg stated before, we are in a good situation health-wise because of his team's hard work and getting the audit done on time. And that will allow us, as Commissioner Felder mentioned, to paint a better picture of our finances each month. We have been given a statement before, the monthly financial statements. Like I said, I still haven't got any real guidance on how it needs to be changed. Once the budget is passed, I will come back to that to see exactly what you want to see. Because as I interpret the financial statements we have currently, I see all the information there. But we will add, adjust, delete, whatever is necessary to make that more visible for the commission once we get feedback on those particular financial statements.
So basically what I'm hearing is that you've already been providing those, but they were not in the manner that the commission is requesting at this point, and they had not given you any specific direction as to how to be seen.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
But we have different commissions with different different requirements. We're trying to match everybody's requirements. And those, like I said, those final statements have been for some years that typically that way. Now I made a few adjustments when I got here, but obviously it wasn't the right adjustment. So like I'm saying, once we get this budget passed and we can actually have a budget, the team will go back and look at what needs to be on those financial documents that, suffices the commission, what they want. It's not a negative. I just want to make sure what's clear, not keep going back every month, readjusting those statements, because it does take a lot of work for the finance department because they have to do a mini audit when they do that each month. And at the same time, we are changing over software, so that we'll be going through training in a few months. So it's a lot of things and moving pieces are going to happen here that require we kind of know exactly what needs to be said and wanted, so we can kind of be efficient in how we do it. That's all I'm asking. That's why, hence, we want to get this budget, go ahead and get passed, answer any question they might have, so we can go ahead and move forward and figure out what the next step is.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, one thing.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Are there any amendments that will be coming before us for the next fiscal year?
Yeah, that there's no financial amendments that are planned for as far as increases go. Just like we need to monitor our cost to make sure we're staying within budget. If we do anything like that, as I said in my opening statement, it has to be justified financially. And while I've got the floor, I would like to add what City Manager said. The financial statements. There's certain things we have to do for the auditors, but the financial statements presented to this group, to the commissioners and the mayor and the city manager, they're not my financial statements. They're yours. So we can tailor them in any way you would like for us to.
But Mr. Mayor, I need to be clear because we can't see in the future. Anything can happen. I've kind of discussed it numerous times about our infrastructure, the water plant. Something could happen to require an amendment in the finances. Because I think everybody has been to the water plant now. I'm still highly concerned about what's going on down there. Once again, not a negative aspect to the team down there, but that is an old failing system down there. So yes, something could happen that might require amendment in the near future if we don't do better stewards of just keeping that plant going. So I don't want to on record say that nothing will come up, because it might possibly come up at a later date. Every month, we go farther and farther down the hole with that water plant and our water and sewer services in general.
It almost sounds like science, because when you do something, you make a decision on something, and then something changes, then you have to make the changes as changes are being made. So Commissioner Bennett, you want to speak to that?
I just want to make a comment. We're playing with this budget, and the employees are at our hands. They're going to be the ones that's suffering. We talk about remodeling the city hall. We had a retreat about it. I brought it up and I said, yes, when Emily and
Tiffany.
uh,
Or Tiffany.
Tiffany was here, the first one we had, I brought it up and I said, we should not be charging or giving citations or fines to the citizens until we take care of City Hall and other properties that we have. And in that discussion, it was said, no, we can't do that. We will lose money. We will lose money. But I say all this to say we have to take care of the city business first before we can do anything. This should have been taken care of a long time ago. Again, this budget is very important. We commend our staff for a job well done, and now it's time to show them what a job well done that they're doing. We can't even come together to pass this budget to let them know that they're doing a good job. I mean, the mayor has broken it down to the simplest form. We hired the city manager to do a job. It's up to him to let him do his job. If he can't do his job, he let his assistant, Patrick, help him out. That's the whole purpose. That's what we pay them for. Greg, Miss Jackson, that's what we pay them for. That's the position that they in. Do we really have any real questions? Because it's the same thing over and over and over. Let's pass this budget.
Mr. Mayor, one final thought, and
Yes,
just to make clarity, fully unrecognized the concerns about the building. I do remember that conversation.
Yes.
My code department, like I said, they don't go searching for stuff. I know they did in the past. I'm gonna stand on record on this. They don't go out there searching. The first discussion with any citizen, do you need help? Because we recognize that, once again, we're all facing inflation, and I hope that that's reaching down to the citizen level. So in some cases, though, it is a safety and health concern. They have to be, because we tried all the means possible to get stuff fixed. You can't let the drug house stay the drug house. You can't let the houses fall apart, close to our major thoroughways, highways, keep going. So in some cases, we have to take some of these citizens to court, because we've exhausted all other means. We do have a strong volunteer program that's doing that. I have spoken to Community Development Investment Director about certain processes that we're going to try to work on this year. Definitely with the grass. That's just a hard ordinance to manage, all the way around. So we're trying to relook at that. But I do feel like the team does go out as much as they can, talk to the citizens first. They did change their policy to explain the ordinances first, because a lot of times we recognize the citizen did not know the ordinance. We're not aware of it. That goes back to the additional guidance to me to work on communication, which I think we have as far as that. So, but with that, city does have to, to survive, it's got to take in revenue some kind of way. That is part of the process. But we are not out here, whatever is floating around like in the past, like attacking citizens. They run their routes, they educate their citizens, and the ones that need help, we help. And then we go on from there, Mr. Mayor.
Right. So we've had comments and questions. Are there any more questions of the city manager that he might be able to respond to, or to our director before we adjourn?
No, sir.
Commissioner 2 says no. Commissioner 3? Any questions?
I just have a comment,
Okay.
Mayor. I just like to, remind our city employees as well as our citizens that when it comes to the physical budget of the city, this commission is the one that is responsible, and we're the ones that have to answer the questions. Not anyone else on board here, we do. So the more information we have, the more conscious of a decision that we can make regarding any decision that comes across this desk for us as a commission. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And District 4, Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes, I did exactly what Katrina said. Greg, thank you for working hard to try to balance this budget. So, it's not the easiest thing to do, especially when the unknown is looking at you in the face, but you don't know what's going to happen in 2025. So thank you for your work for doing this. But when I have questions, I am a representative for my district, and I'm going to ask questions until I get clear in my mind exactly what's going on so I can explain it. So if you don't like me asking questions, it's just too bad because I'm going to ask them and be explained to them. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions and thank you for your comments. So with that, if you don't have any closing remarks, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries.